Hello and welcome to Unshakable with Lovell Casiero. I'm so glad that you have joined us today. Have you ever wondered why you feel like others don't care what you have to say? Have you ever wanted to just come off mute and tell people what you think, what you believe, what you feel? My next guest is going to help you with that, Dr. Rita Renee. 2 times TEDx speaker. She's written 14 books. She is an amazing woman who helps people find their voice. She has a podcast coming called Unmute the Mic, I think, or Unmute. I know you're going to want to check it out. She has really been an inspiration to me, and I can't wait to introduce you to Dr. Rita Renee, who lives and coaches in her words, she said, I don't coach by information. I coach for transformation. I love her. I know you will too. Stay tuned. We'll be right back to get started.
I see faith through the pain. I see light in the rain. Dreams of brighter days. Tell me what you're thinking. I have hope in my spirit. Flames of love in my heart. Baby, let me tell you something. I'm about to dance. You realized you're not in control. Once again, tell you once again. Hallelujah. I'm on my way to be the best version of me. Mama knows how to wake you up to dance. Mama knows you're not a mama knows how to wake you up to dance. Mama knows how to wake up to dance. Mama knows you're not a mama knows how to wake you up to dance.
Welcome back to Unshakable. And as I said, today I am delighted to have my dear friend, my new friend, but already a dear friend. Sometimes, you're known by the Spirit, right? And so I'm delighted to have Dr. Rita Renee on Unshakable today. And Rita, as I said, has helped many women through her coaching and speaking to find their voice. So glad to have you today, Rita.
I'm so excited to be here with you, my sister.
So we are going to talk about this fabulous work that you do, but as always on Unshakable, we like to talk about the time where you were being shaped for your purpose. And so before you were the woman that you are today, tell us about the woman you were.
And that's definitely part of the story that people don't usually realize or they don't hear, is that background. And I think that's fundamental that we do share that even when we feel like or seem to appear that we got it all together and we don't. And people see the speaker, the author, the coach, the leader, they see the confidence and all that. But before I became known as helping women to come off mute, I had to walk through my own muted season. I experienced childhood abuse from the age of 5 to 10 by my uncle and also a female cousin as well. I had to walk through my own seasons of unhealthy marriage. I was bad connections, people who did not honor who I was or was becoming. And there were seasons when I didn't know how to speak for myself, to protect my peace or to fully recognize my own worth. But God did not waste any of that. And I'm so grateful to that. Even through the childhood abuse, I was able to, around 19, I was able to share that with my mother and my brothers and let them know what happened to me. But again, some family members didn't want to receive it or didn't want to believe it. And I believe that's because sometimes we sweep so many things up under the rug in the era that I came in that you just didn't talk about those things. And then that just filtered over in my adult life.
So I heard you speak in Charlotte at C-Suite for Christ, and I found out some things about you that I didn't know yet. And you elaborated a little bit on the abusive relationship, and I could really relate to that because many years ago, before my husband and I just celebrated 38 years of marriage. So way before that, I too was in a abusive relationship. And I know that I look back and there were warning signs that I ignored and always thought I could change that person and change the situation. And I guess thinking about it, I didn't want to fail at marriage. But looking back now, what were the warning signs that you ignored because you wanted the relationship to work?
You nailed it on the head. That was the first one. I just didn't want to fail at marriage. I saw how my mom went through failed marriages. I saw how family members went through failed marriage or didn't get married at all. They just stayed in these perpetual relationships that ended nowhere. But one of the warning signs I did ignore was the control. The fact that if I didn't do it their way or the way they wanted it, then I was looked upon as being less than, not enough. And I always felt myself trying to be enough and do more, try to be seen, try to be appreciated. And it was never enough. And I stayed in that marriage for 16 years. I did not leave.
Wow.
16 years. And a lot of it had to do with, my family members. I was the one who graduated from college first. I was the one who built the home first and had all these things. And they looked at success as having things. And so I remember I love my mom, so she knows I'm transparent. But she would say, I wouldn't walk away from that. I wouldn't let another woman have something that I helped build. Those pressures, right?
I understand that 100%. I had the same. There was a day and time that, I was going to move out. I had my mom and my stepfather ready to come and get me. And I was not only moving out, I was moving to, another city so that I could put some distance. And the night before, one of my relatives came to me and begged me to, give it one more try. And I remember when I finally decided, no, this is it, that I went to that relative and I said, I just need you to know, I'm done. I'm done. I can't do this anymore. And here's why I'm done. And it shared the most recent experience that my daughter and I had gone through. And at that point, they changed their mind and decided, yeah, it was absolutely time for me to get out. Was there a defining moment when you realized, no matter what anybody says, I can't do this anymore?
Absolutely. I remember the day it happened like it was yesterday. I walked into the kitchen and he was just being himself. And I said, I'm leaving. And he just looked at me and laughed, said, you're not going anywhere. And I said, no, I'm leaving. And I remember going to get the U-Haul truck and backing it up. And he was so shocked. And that, he even helped me put the things on there. I guess he thought I was going to come back. But I never told anybody else. When I left, I didn't even have anywhere to lay my head. I actually was laying in a room of strangers on the floor with my little blanket. But I felt free. I felt the weight of all of that negativity, the bad talking, the women calling me, telling me that they've been with my husband, him taking money and stealing money out of my savings and things. I was free from all of that. And it was worth it. And I realized these things did not bring me happiness. I have less now and I have more peace.
100%. I mean, 100%. And God brings you through those types of situations with I think, kind of comparing, we have a lot of similarities in some of the things I went through, but I think it put how do I want to say this? But it put something in me that I would never stand for that again. I would never stand for that again. And I look back thinking, but I mean, we were young. I think you were also young and I was young. And I think, we thought if we just kept trying and to your point, keep doing better and all of that. But today And when I think about those years, I would never let anybody treat me like that again. And I think that actually helped me a lot in my corporate career, because there were times when, you know, I would just say to people, look, we can have a conversation, but you're not going to speak to me like that. And I just remember, because abuse is not always physical. Sometimes it's mental. And so there's that too. And so for someone listening today, Dr. Rita, who feels trapped, like maybe you and I were feeling back then. I remember having nightmares after I did finally leave, that I would dream that I was back and I would wake up. It was like a nightmare. But for someone listening today, what would you want them to know if they're feeling trapped?
I would want them to know that, first of all, that you are God's creation, and God did not create you to be abused and hurt. I would want them to know that they have a worth that is worth fighting for. And that's where I was. I had to realize that I'm worth fighting for, because we fight for everything else, right? We fight for all these other people in our lives, right? We stick up for them, but we never stick up for ourselves. And I think that is the thing that I had to do. And sometimes people make you feel like you're just a selfish person because you're thinking about yourself. I'm like, if I don't survive, then what are my children who are they gonna turn to? What are the people that have been ordained in my life that God has put me in place? I have to steward my own life as well. And so that is one of the things I would want them to know.
So talk a little bit, I love that. And I know that you, like me, are very faith-based in everything that you do. And whether it's your personal life, the work that you do now, you know, God is always part of that. And you're called to help these women that you're helping. Tell me how God was speaking to you during that time when you were making that decision to leave no matter what.
He just kept bringing me back to his word. Like, he just kept bringing me back to the fact that he made me. I was fearfully and wonderfully made, and that the plans that he had for me, that they were going to be completed, and that I had a hope and I had a faith. And looking back, I can see how God was, encouraging me to move. He was speaking through the peace being disturbed. Like, I'm not an author of confusion. I don't do this. I'm not in this. And I can be honest and transparent. We get into some marriages and some relationships, and we never ask God permission about anything. We looked at the little shiny thing and we just said, oh, this must be from God, but it wasn't. And there were moments when everything looked normal on the outside, but inside, I had no rest. I could not explain it all, but I knew that something in my spirit was unsettled. So sometimes God will speak through us through the peace that we no longer have.
I believe that. And I say it all the time, like, in the crushing is when he's forming us, and he knows what he's going to do with us when he brings us through this. But that's been, I was actually just writing an article, and that was one of the themes of the article. Like, when we think, well, I just know the end of the story and I want to get there, but everything that you were going through, you were not just going through a time of turmoil and lack of peace, but you were going through preparation.
Absolutely. And
God was preparing you, and he knew that you would find your voice. And I have to imagine, like, talk about that, because you are amazing now, and I have now heard you speak twice. I want to hear you as often as I can. You have your podcast. You're starting your podcast. What's the process? You have a podcast now?
I am going to be starting my podcast. I have everything set up, just waiting for the right time. I had to come. I was focusing so much on my TED Talk, the second one I did, that I wanted to get that past me first. But yes, it's called.
That's right. We talked about that. Yeah.
Yep. Unmute the mic. And so just sharing stories just like this, unmuting Well, people look at the challenges that they had in their life, maybe the shame that they have in their life, they overcome that. And just to help other people overcome, whether it's in your business, whether it's in your relationship, whether it's in marriage, wherever those experts are, to speak about,
Amen. Yeah.
to have that visual, because we need people like you, myself, being transparent about our past so people can have hope, right?
Absolutely. Yes. I say this all the time, Dr. Rita. If I had gone through everything that God has brought me through, and then you used this term a while ago, and then I wanted to sweep my past under the rug and not be forthcoming about the things that he's brought me through, then I am missing a great opportunity to help somebody who is facing the same thing. And the first time I ever spoke in public about my dad going to prison, a woman walked up to me afterwards and said, "Thank you so much. I needed to hear that." And her husband was in prison at that point in time, and she was taking care of her two little children. So I think you have to be willing to share that. But tell me when you, and I can't wait to tune in to your podcast. And I will tell you, I was at a creators conference the other day, and someone was speaking about, it was called, they had speakers on podcasts, they had speakers on newsletters, they had speakers that were speaking on your socials. And so I was taking it all in. And so one person said, and I wrote this down, they said, "If you're waiting until you're ready, you're too late." And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm doing that in every project I have. I want every I dotted and every T crossed before, I start putting it out there. And so I've what do I want to say? I have pushed out some milestones I wasn't thinking I was going to push out yet, but they're out there. So delighted to have you on this podcast, though, and I look forward to hearing yours. So was there a moment when you realized your pain had become your purpose?
Yes. And somewhat like yourself sharing your story with people. I remember in 2010, that's when I started Women at the Well Living Water Ministries. And it was just a small group of women. And I started sharing about my testimony, some things that I've gone through in my childhood. The more I started talking about it, the more it seemed like the cloud moved away from me, that the shame lifted off of me. And that same feeling that I felt, I said, how many other women would love to feel this freedom? And that's how it all started. And the more I talk about it, the more I started overcoming. And, everybody has their own space and their own place to, start sharing. So I can't give everyone advice on just go out and start sharing, because I did have to, I talked to my family members and I say, hey, I'm going to share this part of my story. This is where I'm at now. And I don't want to make you uncomfortable, but this is my truth, and it's helping me, and I want to help other women.
I'm going to share this with you really, really quickly, but the very first time that I spoke publicly after taking the reins of the ministry when Dad wasn't able to, I thought, what am I going to speak on? Because I certainly couldn't preach like him. He was a very charismatic preacher. He had been preaching for 31 years at that point, a year longer than I had been born. And so I actually chose to speak on divorce. And not only the divorce that I had from my first husband, but the fact that I grew up as a child in a broken home. And back in those days, people did not know, there wasn't the type of divorce that you have now. It was just, it just was awful. And I say but I have two wonderful parents. Thank God I still have both of them. But they were pioneers for divorce, and there was no playbook. And so I spoke on being a child from a broken home and going through a divorce and having, a 5-year-old daughter when I was going through the divorce. And Dr. Rita, at the end of that, I've testified, and I'll never forget it as long as I live. I said, and the Lord has given me a happy ending. And I started talking about the man that I'm married to now. And you know what I realized? Sometimes we let the devil know how to attack us. Sometimes we let him know where he can get our attention, where the enemy can get our attention. So I'm speaking at this church. I think it was probably like, October, late October. 2 weeks later, Lenny calls and says, I can't do this. I said, what? He said, I can't do this. I said, what do you mean you can't do this? He said, I can't move from New York to North Carolina. I said, well, I can't come back. And so there was a time, because I was running the ministry and the situation surrounding all of that, that me and my husband actually separated. And we kept finding our way back, and God did restore that marriage. When I realized that I had let the enemy know how to attack me, I started saying, you're not going to get this. You're not going to do this. But sometimes, we tell him exactly what's important to us and how he can attack us. And it was just unbelievable. But thankfully, he has preserved that marriage now for 38 years. So it's all good. So let's talk a little bit about the women and the leaders that you coach and you work with. When you see that they are carrying a lot of the pain and the trauma, how do you explain to them what that's affecting as far as their success or their leadership?
Well, we definitely don't want things to affect us so bad that it affects our health, because as women, we're connected to everything, right? The communities, our families, ministry, everything. So when I look at the women leaders, I often see something familiar that I've sought in myself. I see strength, I see excellence, I see responsibility, I see success, but I also see the pain that they kind of carry quietly. They make it look good. I mean, mascara, MAC, and all that, they are great, right? They help us cover all that, Clairol, all that stuff. But many of them, they're high capacity women, but they're a leading team. They're building business, they're raising families and everything. But behind the title and that smile, they're tired. They're tired, and they don't want to be seen as what I can do for you, because they're still healing, and nobody asks them, because they make it look so good. Nobody asks them, how can I help you? Are you okay? So sometimes the strongest women in the room is the one carrying the pain that no one has asked about. And that's why I do not just coach from information. I coach from transformation, because I
love that. That's awesome.
I want them to know that it's not that they need to find their voice. They have their voice. They just need to give it permission to unmute.
That's right. No, they do. And whether it's I talk about this in my book, but whether it's how you were conditioned from the time you were born until you were 8 years old and what you were told then, it sticks with you. People don't realize it does, but it sticks with you. And sometimes you have to really work at overcoming some of that that was drilled into your what formed you. And then you show up with imposter syndrome at work. Like, you're a woman who's actually made it to the boardroom and you're thinking, well, how did I get here? Why am I here? You're here. You're in that boardroom because, first of all, you worked to get there. And second of all, it's also like an attack of your confidence. And especially when you're carrying that pain that no one knows about.
Right, exactly. You said it perfectly.
Yeah. I have to go back though. I love what you said about you're looking at them as if they are a mirror and that you're seeing you. I'm paraphrasing that. You didn't use that word, but I could see you like looking at that other person and seeing attributes that you bring to the table, and also pain of the past and things that you bring to the table to say to somebody, I know what you're going through.
Yeah, healing doesn't make you smaller or less than a leader. Healing just makes your leadership safer, stronger, and more authentic when you heal.
Yeah. And you have to work on that first, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I could see that throughout my, as I matured as a leader, I could see that. And, you know, we never get it right the first time out, and it takes years of lessons and learning and trying things and not being afraid to go back and try again. But, I think I'm just happy that at my age, I'm still learning and I'm still trying to figure things out, and I'm still trying to walk a little further in my purpose than what I have been doing for the last few years. So I know I love watching you, and I'm learning from you, and I just love you. You're just awesome. So you have done a TED Talk. You've done two
Yes.
TED Talks, 3.
2.
You just did another one. You did 2.
2.
Okay.
That's my second one. That's it. And that's it.
Okay.
No more.
Well, you're going to coach me because I want to do one. So
Awesome.
you're going to help me. Did you ever imagine that the very thing you probably felt like you should hide, you shouldn't necessarily talk about, the 16 years of what you put up with, when did you ever think it would become the message that God would give you and the way that he would prepare you for your purpose to help these hundreds and thousands of people that you reach?
It is so funny that you asked that question, because I was literally just thinking about when I used to pray for God, these people have these overcomer testimonies. And I used to say, I want to overcome testimony. I didn't know how it was going to come. But then when all these things started happening, God reminded me that you asked for an overcomer testimony.
That's right. Yeah. Which means you had to overcome something.
To overcome something. But to use that as not only something to strengthen me, to let me know, hey, I'm here with you, even in the midst of this challenge, even in the midst of this shame and pain, I'm here with you. Now you can let other women know, hey, I'll be with them too. I'm never going to leave you or forsake you. His word just comes more alive in the challenges and the struggles.
So we didn't even talk about the fact that you had a very successful career in healthcare. Is that correct?
I am still in the corporate arena. Yes,
You
so I'm
are
still
in the corporate arena. Tell me about what you're doing.
So yes, I've been a nurse for 35 plus years in clinical management. Started off in the hospital, then I went into adolescent psych, and then next I went into home health care, where I did IV transfusion and wound care. The last 22 years, and counting. Hopefully next year I'll be retiring if the Lord will. I've been in clinical corporate nursing. So I manage nurses that work all over the United States, and they all work from home remotely, and they do case management.
Good for you. I, as you know, just left the corporate world about 6 months ago now. And I can assure you that you are going to do absolutely fine in retirement, because I look at you and the work that you're doing in your ministry and the purpose that you have to help these women or people. I mean, it's
like you just said, not just limited to women, because I have men come up to me too. So yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. No, but I think you're doing an amazing work, and I know that when you do make that leap from, retirement in the corporate world into that, I mean, watch out, because here comes Dr. Rita. I know it's going to be amazing. Tell me a little bit. We talked about your podcast. You also write books. I want the viewers to really get a sense of all of the things that you've created. So talk to me about that just a little bit. And then please let us know how people that are watching the podcast can get in touch with you?
Okay, awesome. So I started off, my first book was in 2014. It's Stay in the Ring, Knocked Down, but Not Knocked Out. And it's about my journey from the molestation, from the bad marriages, and how God just set me free through my testimony, and to help other people. Then I started doing prayer journals. So I have volume 1, volume 2, volume 3, Pray on Purpose. And they all have different aspects. One is about when women pray. One is like if you're going through a divorce and relationship. So that's a journal for that. And then I have also 31 Days of Gratitude. And so moving your mind frame from all the things that's going bad to let's have a spirit of gratitude, and how to walk you through that. Also business books where I do how to properly network. And basically, I hate the word network, but it's building authentic, genuine relationships. So Powerlink, sisterhood, an array of things where I help women and men when it comes to business. I also did a book about breaking free from toxic business relationships. But the latest one I did was with my son. My son has autism. He's 16. And the book is called My Name is Daniel, Autism is Not My Name. And then the last one just came out this month, is How to Unmute Your TED Talk. So it's over 14 books that I've written.
Wow. Oh my gosh. I think I'm going to have to start putting time on my calendar to finish my second book. Rita, you've challenged me today. So I'm going to challenge you real quick, if you don't mind, because I haven't done this before, but I think of all of my guests that I've had on and the folks that I've interviewed, I think you can handle a little bit of rapid fire. How's that? Are you game? Yeah. All right. So what do you think makes someone truly unshakable?
Ooh, their testimony.
What fear have you had to overcome most recently?
Opinions of others.
What's one lie you hope every woman stops believing?
That you are not enough.
Finish this sentence. Your voice matters because
God gave it to you to steward.
What's the one habit that keeps you spiritually grounded?
Prayer.
I love it. You did awesome. I don't think I could have done that good. I really don't. You did awesome.
Oh,
that was
you.
Great. That was great. You didn't even, it was like, boom. You didn't even sound like you had to think about it. That's great. And 2-time TEDx. There you go. That's why she knows what she's talking about. So, it's been a pleasure to have you on the Unshakable podcast today, Dr. Rita Renee. And in closing, the podcast is called Unshakable. And imagine that someone's listening today. I always say this because as much as my husband will tell you when I have a microphone in front of me that I am happier than I've ever been, that's just because I enjoy it, not because it's about Lovell, because it's not about me as the host and founder of this podcast. And it's somewhat about my guests who are brave enough to share their stories. But what it's truly about is the people that are listening and will be impacted by this story and by something that we talked about today. So imagine someone listening today who's sitting in their car after another difficult night, wondering if they'll ever feel whole again. What would you say to that person?
Well, since we're talking on your platform about Unshakable, I would say becoming unshakable does not mean that you have never hurt, you've never been disappointed, rejected, delayed, or broken. It means that you made a decision that what happened to you would not have the final authority over you. And that's what I would tell them. Use your voice, own your story, lead with clarity, and walk in your assignment, and stop hiding from the very thing God wants to use you.
You made me have chills, actually. So thank you. Thank you for that. Any parting? I always ask this last question, and it is, maybe I didn't ask you about something that you want to make sure that is included in your message today to the listeners. So any parting words, Dr. Rita?
I just pray that this conversation encouraged someone to come off mute and stand in truth and just realize and recognize that they are still called, still chosen, still valuable, and still becoming. The shaking did not destroy you. It revealed what was unshakable in you.
I love it. I love it. There you have it. It didn't destroy you. It revealed the unshakable in you. Dr. Rita Renee, thank you so much for blessing us with your appearance, and you did a fabulous job, and I can't wait to bring this to the subscribers. If you are not subscribed to Unshakable with Lovell Casiero, I invite you to subscribe where you like to listen to a podcast, YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Podcast. So thank you again, Dr. Rita, for being my guest today.
A pleasure.
And until I see you again, be well, be loved, be safe, but most of all, be you. God bless.
Before you leave the show today, there's something really exciting I want to announce and share with you. I am rolling out the Elevated Life Collective. It is a community centered around coaching, and not just in your professional life, but also in your personal life as well as your spiritual life. I am so excited about this offering and what each of the tiers will bring to those of you who have been looking for something to take you to the next level as a woman. It is for women only, but it is called the Elevated Life Collective because it is my goal, it is my desire, and my vision that it will help you become the woman you were meant to be. If you'd like information, we'll give you the contact information. You can email me at my website. You can email me. Those emails come to me personally. And my email, my website is lovellcasiero.com. Really easy to find. You can contact me through there, and I'll be glad to provide you more information. You don't want to miss this. The Elevated Life Collection coming soon for anybody out there, any woman out there that wants to become the woman you are meant to be.
I see hate through the pain. I see light in the rain. Dreams of brighter days. Tell me what you're thinking. I have hope in my spirit, flames of love in my heart. Baby, let me tell you something. I'm about to dance. You realize you're not in control. Once again, tell you once again.